Hey, what's up guys, Alex here. Thank you for checking this video and welcome to the episode number 25 of the series of tutorial on how to build a premium theme for WordPress. Welcome again. In this tutorial, we're going to take a look on how to create a gallery post format. If you notice here, I already have a gallery post format because I created in my backend a new blog post called gallery post format, and I input a bunch of stuff, like a bunch of random text, 4 pictures in a small medium size, excerpt. I selected the gallery post format, checked the category and put a bunch of tags. I didn't input any featured image for exactly one purpose that I'm gonna tell you later, and then I just simply created this post. Of course, because we don't have a gallery post format content file, automatically the system will grab the default content file, and the function that we wrote in a previous lesson to retrieve a featured image or attachment is grabbing the first attachment of our blog post. So if we access our code editor and we access the file themesupport.php, we scroll down to the sunset get attachment, that is the function that currently the standard posts format is using. We notice that here we have automatically a check. If the blog post has a post thumbnail, the output will grab that post thumbnail. But if the blog post doesn't have a post thumbnail, automatically the system will grab just one attachment and will return it as a fake post thumbnail. And this function is pretty great because we can easily extend it to accommodate the needs for us to collect all the attachments of a specific blog post and generate a gallery, a slider with the built-in carousel of Bootstrap. Before doing that though, I want to change a little bit the style of my design here. I want to actually extend the header full screen to go 100% to the width of my browser, and I want to fix a little bit of weird issues here that I have with my different posts. So first of all, let's take care of the header. Let's go in the text editor, open the header.php file, and let's remove the column XS extra small 12. We don't need it anymore because we don't want to limit to any column width. Let's indent back this one and let's change this class from container to container fluid. Let's save it, get back in the front end. Let's go here and it goes 100%. If you remember in the first lesson when I created the header, I wanted to start and do the header at 100%, but then I decided to go fixed at the container, has the container width. But then now with the content that follows the column and follows the container, it looks way better having the header going 100%. Of course, this style is not done at all. Like we didn't actually care at all about the responsive environment for mobile. If you notice, we scroll a little bit down here, the system creates this gap on the right. This is normal because Bootstrap has these classes with minus margin to have everything aligned. We will fix this later when we tackle all the media queries for our responsive environment. We're not going mobile first, but we're designing and developing this stuff desktop first. So it's fine to tackle the media queries later. Also in the future, most likely I will implement a nice JavaScript function to maintain the menu stick attached fixed to the top, while a scroll after I pass the menu should remain here for an easier navigation. But let's not worry about this. The other easy fix that I want to do is I want to consolidate a little bit the style of my blog loop of all the article. If you notice, every time I create a new post format, I apply a specific class to fix a bit the spacing or the margin of a specific header, a specific title, and every time I create a unique class for a unique post format. This is not wrong, but it's not even actually good. Like, it's not the right thing to do. What we should do, we should have just one single statement for all the articles container to have the same space, the same spacing between articles, and then handling unique classes just for the inside class, not the margin or the spacing outside. So let's fix that. First of all, let's access our sunset.scss file. Let's scroll down to the standard post format, and now we have an article with a margin bottom of 80 pixels. I don't want that, because if, for example, the thing that I want to do, I want to remove this unique margin top of the entry title. I want to put it to 0. This collapse and get attached because the article doesn't have any margin top, but has only margin bottom. What I want to do, I want to create also a top spacing, and I want to make all these options consistent between the loop, inside the loop. So let's create, first of all, let's change margin to padding. Actually, let me show you what I mean with that. So let's change margin bottom to 40 pixel and margin top to other 40 pixels. So by default, you will think that having a margin top and margin bottom of 40 pixel, the sum is 80 pixel, but it actually won't work like that, because the margin top, of course, here is 40 pixel, but the margin bottom here, if you notice, is still 40 pixel, didn't change. So if we collapse the articles and we check all the articles one after another, you will notice the first article has the margin bottom of 40, and the second article has the margin top of 40, but these two margins are overlapping. They're not being summed to create an 80 pixel margin. This is how CSS works, especially how margin works. Basically, the margin gets applied compared to another element, so compared to external element. For CSS, for the styling of the CSS, these two elements already have a margin of 40 pixels, a spacing distance of 40 pixels. So having another declaration that says, I want another 40 pixels, doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense for a margin, because here you already have 40 pixels. I hope you got it. Like, I hope you got what I'm trying to explain, but this is how CSS works. To avoid this, we have to use padding instead of margin. Refresh, and now we have the sum of these two elements, margin top and margin bottom. And now we can, because we have a consistent spacing between articles, we can remove all the exceptions that we created, and they're creating just confusion in our style. So I want to remove the margin top of the header, that is 40 pixels. So I want to remove the margin top of the sunset format image. I want to remove the margin top of the header of the sunset format video. Let's save it. Let's go back here, refresh. This one is the entry title generic, and I want to also remove the generic entry title margin of the h1 tag, because every single h1 tag of every single post format will have its own exception. That is good. So we have here, the first one has a padding top of 40. Here we have 80. Here we have 80. Here we have 80. Maybe, let me check. Yes, we have 80 and looks good. And at the bottom we have 40. So it's consistent. Now what we can do, because I kind of liked it, the first element having 80 pixels from the top, I wanna create an exception for just the first child of the article loop. To do that, we have to indent, create inside our SASS structure an ampersand column first dash child, and here we can declare that only the first child has a padding top of 80 pixel. Refresh, and the first child has a padding top of 80 pixel. The other, they don't have a padding top of 80 pixel. They have only 40 pixels and 40 pixels. So if we check all the articles, bottom, the second one has padding top of 40 pixel. If we go back here, we see that the first child only has 80 pixel, and now everything is consistent, and we don't create weird exceptions based on the type of title, the type of post format, because the container has the same consistent class throughout all the loop. So now we can create our unique style, unique function for the gallery post format. First of all, let's access the themesupport.php file, and let's edit a little bit the sunset get attachment. So by default now is checking if we have a post thumbnail. If we don't, is retrieving just one attachment. So what I want to do here, I want to create a custom variable to pass to this function the amount of attachments that I want to retrieve. So let's create a variable to pass inside this function called num, that it means numbers, and by default I want to assign a value of 1. So if we declare the function without any variable, the default is not going to be null, it's not going to be empty, but it's going to be 1, so we won't break our code. And here we can replace the number with the variable num. It's pretty good. Now we have a small problem that we have to create an exception here, because if, for example, the user uploads in the backend has the gallery post format, but uploads also a featured image for how the function is built, is gonna return only one picture, so only the featured image. And we don't want that, because if the user, if us, for the gallery, we specify that we want more than one picture, but the function stops at the featured image, we cannot retrieve all the pictures that we need. So we have to create another check here to check if has the post thumbnail plus we double ampersand and the num variable, it's equal, double equal to say it's equal to 1. So if the post has a post thumbnail and the declaration here of this variable is 1, okay, you can retrieve the post thumbnail. Otherwise, even if the post has the post thumbnail, but the variable num is different than 1, the code will skip this part and it will go directly to get the full list of attachments. Also here we have to create another exception, because these sunset get attachments is used also for the image, the single image post format. If we have more than one attachment, if we have more than one retrieved attachment, we don't want to execute this for each and input just one single element, just like the latest uploaded picture to return. We want to pass the entire array because we need that entire array to loop and create our slider. So we have to check again if we have the attachments and same exact function, the number of the attachments is equal to 1, you can execute this for each and pass to the user, pass to the specific post format just one attachment. Else if, we can specify else if, always check if we have the attachment, because we don't want to execute the function, we don't want to execute the statement if we don't have any attachment, but we have to specify it as a second parameter if we have the attachment and the number of attachments, or the number specified by the function, is bigger than 1, so it means we want more than one attachment. We can just implement inside the output the entire attachments array. So we will pass to the function the entire attachments array. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh and see if we broke something. We didn't, everything works. We don't have any error PHP. So now what we can do, we can duplicate the default content file and create a content-gallery file. So duplicate it, rename this file content-gallery.php. Inside here, let's access this file. Let's change this with gallery. Let's copy this full part with the if statement to check if we get an attachment with the function. Let's remove it from here. Let's add it inside the header, because in my design file, I want the gallery before the title. So inside the header as a first thing. And inside here, we can remove all this stuff because we don't need it. We don't want just the link. And here we can do a little bit of PHP check. So if the sunset get attachment has some return, so as something other than 0, we can input the attachments. We're going to use the same exact variable so we don't get confused. It's going to be equal to the sunset get attachment to retrieve all the attachment. But here we want to specify the number of attachments that we want to retrieve. And because a user could input 20, 30, 100 pictures inside a blog post, we don't want to retrieve all the attachments. We want to limit the number of attachments to a number that it's good for a slider in the front end, but is not going to affect too much the loading speed of our website. So let's put, for example, 7. Of course, you can put whatever number you want. I just put 7 because a slider of 7 pictures, it's just like a good amount for a nice preview. And just to check what's the output of this, we can print this array with our usual var dom and put the attachments variable inside here. Save it. Let's go back in the front end, refresh, and now we have the attachment array that prints 4 variables because are the 4 pictures that we uploaded. And here we have our IDs and our JPEG and our URL, so we can retrieve all the information that we want. Let's comment these out. And now here what we have to do, we have to write a little bit of HTML markup to generate the Bootstrap carousel, where inside we're gonna print all the pictures that we retrieved with the function with the for each loop. So let's write a little bit of HTML. Div ID. The Bootstrap carousel works with an ID, a unique ID. So if a user has more than one gallery post format inside the index page, inside the same page, we cannot put a static ID. The ID has to change, and we can use the same logic of our article ID. Instead of just post, let's use post gallery ID class. We specify the class carousel, that is the default of Bootstrap, with a class of slide to say that we want a slide effect, and the HTML5 attribute used by Bootstrap to activate the carousel called data write carousel. We close this container and we copy this class and we use it as a comment to keep everything organized as usual. Inside here, we don't want any indicator. We want just put the inner, the inside all the items, and then we want the navigation arrows to slide and select different slides to navigate through the items. So let's create the div class carousel dash inner, that is still the class of Bootstrap, with the role of list box. Let's close here. Let's copy this class as usual. And let's put it here to keep everything easier to read. And inside here, now we can put the loop. We can activate our loop with the attachments, loop all through all the attachments and generate our item element. So let's code. First of all, let's open the PHP tags and let's create the usual for each $attachment as $attachment singular. And here we can maybe copy this one. We can close the end for each. And here we can write our item stuff. So div class item active, because the first one has to be active. And let's put background image as a class because I want the item to have the picture, our attachment, as a background image. Let's close this tag. Let's put style background image, oops, image URL, and here we have our URL. And now here, what we can do, we have to use basically the exact same code, but instead of inputting this code inside an output variable, whatever variable, we can print directly inside here with our PHP tags, echo, save it. Now inside this for each loop, the code is generating all different items for the same amount of attachments that we have, in my case 4. The problem is that for Bootstrap to get the carousel activated properly, we need just the first item to have the class active. To do that, we can use just a super simple if statement that we already use multiple times. So let's create a variable called active, and we can check if, let's declare here variable called I, and the variable starts at 0, and before the end of the for each we can declare this variable again, I, but increase the variable of 1 by putting a plus plus. So every time this for each loop gets executed, this variable is going to be 1, and then 2, and 3, and 4, and so on, so on. So we can check if, in the short way of the if statement, the dollar variable is equal to 0, question mark, we can print the active class. Otherwise, with a column, we will print an empty class. So now we can use this active here, and we can print PHP. We can open our PHP tags and echo the active class. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. Let's see if we broke something. Okay, nothing's broken. We don't see our carousel because, of course, Bootstrap by default doesn't have an height for the carousel. But if we access our inspector, we see that we have the ID with the post gallery and the current ID of the post. Carousel is inside here, and inside the carousel inner container, we have our 4 items. And if you notice here, if we wait long enough, yes, see, the item just slide. Look at that. And sliding. Okay, so it's working. It's auto sliding, it's auto rotating. The thing that we have to do, we have to apply a specific class and change the height and maybe style a little bit. What I want to do, I want to use the same exact class that I use for my post thumbnail. So let's use this one. The class that I use is standard featured. So I can copy this entire one and I can use this. Let's copy gallery post format. And then I can use the sunset format gallery. And inside here, I can declare that the standard featured. I don't want to redeclare anything because I'm already using the standard feature here. Standard feature has a height of 500 instead of 330. And the after, I want the background color completely transparent because I don't want that black cover here that we have in our standard feature. We won't have any link or any clickable area in our images, so we don't need these animations. So let's remove completely the background color that we applied on top as a filter. The only thing that we have to do, we have to apply this class to our content gallery here, the gallery post format inside the post class gallery format, sunset format gallery. And here inside the item, we have to apply the same class, the standard featured class. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Scroll up, let's refresh, and now we have our nice slider that is sliding automatically once every 4 or 5 seconds, depending on Bootstrap. Now what we have to do, we have to style a little bit of spacing here, and we have to apply the navigation arrows to scroll through and control the scrolling in the direction of our slider. So let's do that. First of all, we can check inside our CSS style. Let's copy these and let's paste it inside here. We can use the exact same code. So our entry title inside the header, inside the sunset format gallery, would have a margin on top of 20 pixel, and this is way better. And now we have to code. Where is it? And now we have to code inside the carousel tag right after the carousel inner, the 2 navigation arrows, the 2 controls of Bootstrap. So let's use a class. The first one goes to the left, and the class is carousel control. As an href tag, we have to put the ID, so we have to put the hashtag or the number symbol of the container that we specified here. So the ID is the post gallery plus the ID of the blog post. Then we can specify an HTML5 role of button and a data slide The data slide is what Bootstrap uses to slide or next or to the previous slide of the previous item. Here we have to specify the previous with the prev word to specify that the left it's gonna handle the sliding to a previous slide. Let's close here. Let's close the A tag. Inside here we have to specify a couple of containers, span class to specify the icon. For now, we're gonna use the default glyph icon of Bootstrap. In the future lesson, we're gonna replace it with our custom sunset font icon. So chevron left and an HTML5 attribute of area hidden that is true. Oops, true. And then as a second parameter is a step more for accessibility of our website. We want to input a class wrapper with a SR only, that it means for a screen reader. So this container is not going to be visible to anyone, but it's going to be readable by a screen reader. So if a user has an impaired vision and he needs a screen reader to access a website, it will have this option read it to itself. So it will know that this button, it means that it's going to a previous slide, and we can simply copy exactly this thing and change everything from left to right. So this is class right, chevron right, and the data slide it's next, and also the screen reader option is going to be next. Save it. Let's go back in our front end. Let's refresh. And now we have the two glyph icons here. If we click, it's going to slide. If we click it back, it's going to slide back. And that's perfect. We created this super nice function. We didn't create a function. We just expanded the function a little bit, and we checked all different options. So now we have the same function. We didn't write a new function from scratch, but we expanded the functionalities to use it in different scenarios how we want it without having any problem. In the next lesson, we are gonna style a little bit more this slider. We're gonna change the icons with our custom chevron icons. We're gonna implement a caption for every single image by grabbing the actual caption of the image and not using the generic excerpt. And then we're gonna create this nice animation that when you go on rollover, it's gonna show you a preview, a small thumbnail of the next picture that you're gonna see in the slider. So it's pretty much it for today's lesson. Thank you guys for checking this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up or subscribe to my channel. And if you have a couple of minutes, please take a look at the link in the description below to access the support me page and check all different ways to support me, support my channel, and help me to do better videos and better tutorials for you. Thank you again guys for checking this video, and until the next lesson, as usual, happy coding.